Hello people. Now in this video I'm going to talk about some updates that you need to understand when it comes to visa application to Belgium, or how you can actually navigate your Belgium. A couple of questions I received from people and I think it's going to help you. The first one is visa guarantee when it comes to applications, or when it's like you want to move to Belgium because of the blocked account or because of affidavit of support. Now, first thing first, I would always tell you that the visa rate for this country is maybe 90%, 95%, but there is no visa that is guaranteed. The reason is because they have to go through processes, right, to actually get you on track. Now, one thing I want to tell you is you must do what the immigration want. You must do what the embassy is asking you to do for you to actually get your visa approved. Remember, early application is the key for you to actually secure a visa. Sometimes some countries do have the number of applications they want to consider for that particular intake. Sometimes they don't look at it that way, but sometimes they might look at first come first serve. So one thing first you need to know is, you remember you have to apply for a school in Belgium or anywhere around the world. Then after you apply for the school, before you can get admissions and proceed to visa stage, the first thing first, apply early to the school so you can get an early offer. Then you now move to the visa stage and begin an early visa application. It is so essential. Now remember, if you do not have documents to provide for this as well, it is going to be a problem. If you fail to provide the documents for admissions that can secure you an admissions letter or offer, you would have issues. Now, what am I trying to say? Because many people, they just jumped on links without actually even knowing the requirements of that particular program. Then when you apply, before you know, you are rejected. Please always note that where earlier you look at the requirements, the better for you, and the best requirements will secure an admissions for you. Same thing goes for visa. Take a look at the visa documents before you actually apply for a visa. This is a very important message many of you do not know, because sometimes I see people, they come to me, they are like, Milton, how do I apply? You cannot be applying. Milton is not the one to give you the information on how to apply, or to tell you that this is what you need to do. I will always give you information to guide you. Okay, now it's now left for you. I have said it many times in most of my videos that go to the links and check them out before you apply, right? Sometimes I do this intentionally so that you should go there and look at the requirements and make yourself familiar with them. So please put all this into consideration. Then also remember, during application, some applications may have interviews, others may not. Some schools will specifically tell you that you need to undergo interview during your application process. Now, why am I mentioning this? So that you should know. And if you check the requirements and the websites very well, that is when you are going to actually see all of this. But if you do not check very well, it's going to be a problem for you. Now, for example, if you want to apply to the Czech Republic, you will see that most schools have interviews, online interviews. If you go to other places like maybe Austria and Slovakia, they do have online exams. Finland has an online exam. So if you do not read through the website properly, you may not know all these things. Okay, so there is an interview. Follow the interview well to secure admissions. Then when you go to visa stage, you also follow the interview well. Some embassies have interviews as well. Example is the Belgian embassy. You have to go through an interview, probably the writing, the speaking, but again, pay attention to the speaking section, so as because the speaking, I understand the writing may be somehow complicated, but the speaking is very important. Then for other embassies as well, others may ask you a couple of questions, very few questions as well, but pay attention to all details, especially when you go for interview. Now, when you do supply the right documentations, you do an early application, then you go for your interview and you trust everything well, be rest assured that your visa may be given. But otherwise, there is no visa that is guaranteed. I hope you get it. Now, understand that For some of the schools in Belgium, application begins. Like if you want to apply to Belgian universities, application begins around November, December, January. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this so that you understand that most schools, like if you do not check requirements, you can't know. Most of these schools have requirements, general requirements, language requirements, maybe departmental requirements. Okay, so some programs may have different requirements while other programs may have language requirements, and some schools would not even tell you to bother. Like if you don't go to the website, there might be so many things you will not know. So I'm saying this because if you intend to study in Belgium, you should start doing your application from November, December, January. As I'm talking to you, this November that is coming, December, January, is the time that the admissions is going to commence in some schools. A school like Ghent University usually open November. Other schools will come in December, January, February, and upwards, right? Like KU Leuven, it doesn't open maybe in January. I think KU Leuven opens around January, February. So you have to put all these things into consideration. And if you do not put them into consideration, check language requirement, check normal requirements. Like most of the time, the basic requirements you need are just your maybe high school transcripts to go for bachelor's. Then your high school certificates, right? Your IELTS and application fee. Some schools do not charge application fee, but if you are going for masters, you need all those documents together with motivation letters and sometimes reference letters, and of course your bachelor's degree transcript and the attestation or certificate. So this is basically the requirements for bachelor's and masters most of the time. Then also understand that when it comes to school application, some schools accept third class, others accept first class, second class, and you understand there is lower and upper, but I don't want to mention that. I'm saying this to those who have been asking me, Milton, oh, which school accepted class? Oh, I have a second class degree. I've been saying this thing times and again. Some people are even asking me if they can use third class to get admission in Austria. Now, if you do not check the school website very well to know if the program you are going in for actually accepts third class, how are you going to know? Okay, that's the question. Now, if you do not check the school website to see if they actually says they can take third class or not, how are you going to know? In most cases, they will not mention these things. They will be choosing based on the application submitted. Now, you may be thinking that you have third class, you cannot be selected before you know. Maybe 5 people who have first class apply and the remaining people are third class people. Now, in this case, you are among them, right? If they need 20 people and they receive just maybe 15 applications, the chances that you can go in is very high, though you have a very low score. So sometimes check the requirements to actually see, and if they mention that they are not taking third class, leave it out. Don't apply for the school, right? You check other schools, but if they don't mention it, I always say it, apply. You never can tell, because you might be thinking that you have third class, you may not be selected before you know somebody else is selected. So I always say apply. Don't ask me if you should use third class to apply. All these things is like a gamble, right? You have to do it if you really want to get results. This is how rich people operate. You cannot be looking to maybe study abroad and you have a third class. Instead of you to do research and of course try your luck and do many applications, you are rather asking Milton. It means at the end of the day you may never get in. So it is now something of choice. Go to work, do the research, right? You start the application and do not think that you cannot be selected. No. There are schools that I know that when you go there and apply, they didn't mention it, but looking at it and the competitiveness, you may not go in with the third class. Ghent University is an example. I have a couple of people who use second class lower to apply and they were rejected. I've never seen somebody with second class lower got into Ghent. You understand? But if you apply to some schools in maybe like Denmark, I know somebody who got into Denmark with the second class lower, right? To so many schools in Denmark. So it all depends on the school, the country, and the requirements. So I always tell people, check very well. If you don't see, shoot your shot, because at the end of the day, only those who are not afraid will go in. I hope this helps you. Then let's take a look at sponsors for job seeking visas. If you remember, when you study in a foreign country, you need to stay back. They will give you some time to get a job. Belgium is not an exception like other countries. There are some countries that will give you longer, some will give you shorter. Canada will give you 1 year or 3 years, depends. Denmark will give you 3 years.